Mama's sleeping again. 7-year-old Caleb stood in my bedroom doorway at 3 in the morning, holding his stuffed dinosaur, tears streaming down his face. Behind him, 10-year-old Marcus and 12-year-old Jaden looked equally scared. I knew what sleeping meant. It meant our mother had passed out somewhere in the house. Too high to wake up, too gone to be a parent. It meant that once again, at 19 years old, I was the only functioning adult in a house full of children who deserved so much better. "Is she breathing?" I asked, already getting out of bed, already knowing we would be making another trip to the emergency room, already calculating if I had enough gas money to get there and enough minutes on my phone to call 911 if needed. "Yeah," Jaden said quietly. "She's on the bathroom floor. There's a needle." A needle. My mother had graduated from pills to heroin. I felt something die inside me in that moment, some last flicker of hope that she might get better, might choose us, might finally be the mother these boys needed. But hope was a luxury I could not afford anymore. My brothers needed action, not hope. I found her exactly where Jaden said, curled around the toilet, a needle still loosely held in her right hand. Her breathing shallow, but steady. She had pissed herself. The bathroom reeked of vomit and human waste and that sweet, sick smell that I had learned meant heroin. My brothers stood in the hallway behind me, watching, waiting for me to fix it like I always did. "Go pack overnight bags," I told them, keeping my voice calm and steady, the voice I had perfected over the past 2 years of managing crisis after crisis. 3 days of clothes, your school stuff, and 1 toy each. Marcus, help Caleb with his bag. Jaden, grab the emergency food box from my closet. They scattered to their tasks, trained by too many nights like this. I checked Mom's pulse, weak but steady, then carefully removed the needle from her hand, wrapping it in toilet paper and putting it in the Sharps container I had bought after finding the first one 6 months ago. I rolled her into recovery position, made sure her airway was clear, then called 911. "What's your emergency?" "My mother has overdosed on what I believe is heroin. She's breathing but unconscious. We're at 2847 Maple Street, apartment 3B. "How old are you, sir?" 19. "Is there anyone else in the home?" "My 3 younger brothers, ages 7, 10, and 12. We're sending an ambulance and police now. Are the children safe?" "Yes, they're with me. They're always safe with me." That last part was not a statement. It was a promise, a vow, a declaration of war against anyone who would hurt them, including the woman who gave birth to us. My name is Noah Williams, and this is the story of how I became a father to 3 boys before I was old enough to legally drink, how I fought a system that wanted to separate us, and how I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is accepting that the person who should love you most is incapable of choosing you over their addiction. But let me back up, because to understand why that night was different from all the other nights, you need to understand the 5 years of hell that came before it, every small defeat that led to that moment with a needle in her hand and my baby brother at my door. Mom's addiction started, innocently enough, when I was 14. A car accident on Highway 78. A drunk driver who walked away while Mom's Honda was crushed like a tin can. She survived, but her back was never the same. 3 herniated discs, the doctor said. Chronic pain that would never fully go away. The prescription was for OxyContin, 30 pills a month, take as needed for pain. For 6 months, she took them exactly as directed. She still worked her waitressing job at Denny's, still made us pancakes on Sunday mornings, still helped with homework and attended parent-teacher conferences. We were never rich. Mom worked doubles to keep us in our 2-bedroom apartment, and Dad had disappeared when Caleb was 6 months old, leaving nothing but debt and empty beer cans. But we were happy. We had game nights on Fridays, movie marathons on Saturdays, church on Sundays, even though Mom would sometimes nod off during the sermon, which we thought was just exhaustion from working so much. Then Dr. Morrison retired, and the new doctor, Dr. Patel, looked at her chart and decided 6 months was enough. The injury had healed, he said. Physical therapy would manage any residual pain. He cut her off cold turkey. No tapering, no alternatives, just, you don't need these anymore. But the addiction had already taken root, spreading through her system like kudzu, invisible at first, but impossible to stop once established. She found another doctor across town, complained of migraines, got Percocet this time. When that doctor got suspicious, she found another. She became an expert at emergency room visits, knowing exactly what to say to get a short-term prescription. Kidney stones, she would claim, writhing in fake agony. Dental pain from a tooth she had pulled years ago. Menstrual cramps, so severe she could not stand. I watched my mother disappear in increments, like a photograph left in the sun, fading so slowly you don't notice until one day you look and the image is almost gone. First, she stopped cooking elaborate dinners, saying she was too tired. Hamburger helper instead of homemade lasagna. Then frozen pizzas instead of hamburger helper. Then cereal for dinner. Then nothing at all unless I cooked it. She stopped going to Marcus's baseball games, claiming her back hurt too much to sit on bleachers. She stopped checking Jaden's homework, trusting he was smart enough to do it himself. She stopped reading bedtime stories to Caleb, letting him fall asleep to YouTube videos on her phone instead. By the time I was 15, I was doing everything. Getting my brothers up for school at 6 a.m., making sure they showered and brushed their teeth, packing lunches with whatever I could find, sometimes just peanut butter sandwiches and an apple, sometimes leftover takeout from Mom's restaurant job that she brought home but forgot to refrigerate. I forged her signature on permission slips, attended parent-teacher conferences, pretending to be 18, learned to lie with a smile when teachers asked about our home life. Mom's working double shifts. I would say, she's doing her best. We're fine. But we were not fine. Mom was calling in sick to work more and more often, and when she did go, she was making mistakes, dropping plates, forgetting orders, nodding off at the counter. She got fired from Denny's, found a job at Waffle House, got fired from there too. Each job worse than the last, each paycheck smaller, each period of unemployment longer. I got a job at 15, lying about my age to stock shelves at a grocery store after school. Told Mom it was for college savings. Really it was for groceries, electricity bills, Marcus's baseball cleats, when his feet grew 2 sizes in 3 months. I hid money in a coffee can behind the flour, knowing Mom would find it and spend it on pills if I left it anywhere obvious. The first time I found her unconscious was on Caleb's 7th birthday. I had saved for 2 months to buy him the Lego set he wanted, had made a cake from a box mix, had invited his friends from school for a party. Mom promised she would be there, would be sober, would be the mother he deserved for just one day. I found her on her bedroom floor at 2 p.m., the party starting at 3. Caleb in his birthday crown I had made from construction paper, asking where Mommy was. I told him she was sick, had the flu, needed to rest. Managed the party myself. 7 screaming 7-year-olds hyped on sugar and chaos. Parents picking up their kids, giving me strange looks. Why was a 16-year-old running a birthday party alone? That night, after the boys were asleep, I confronted her. She was awake by then, groggy and defensive. You missed your son's birthday. I was there in spirit. You were passed out on pills. Their prescription. I need them for my back. Your back doesn't hurt when you're unconscious. She slapped me. Hard. It was the first time she had ever hit me, and it shocked us both. She started crying, apologizing, promising to get help. I believed her because I needed to believe her, because the alternative was accepting that our mother was choosing pills over us, and I was not ready for that truth. Child Protective Services got involved for the first time when Marcus's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, noticed he had been wearing the same clothes for a week straight. She pulled him aside, gentle and careful, and asked if everything was okay at home. Marcus, loyal to a fault, said yes, everything was fine. But she saw the stains on his shirt, smelled the funk of unwashed clothes, noticed the free lunch form had not been renewed despite clearly qualifying. The social worker came on a Tuesday. Mom had warning. The school had to notify parents of CPS involvement, and she prepared like she was studying for the SATs. She cleaned the apartment for the first time in months, throwing everything into closets and under beds. She went to the grocery store, filling the fridge with fresh vegetables she would never cook. She showered, did her hair, put on her interview clothes from her last real job. She was magnificent, charming, apologetic, explaining how she had been sick, not lying really addiction is a sickness, and how she was getting back on her feet. The social worker, Mrs. Patterson, looked around the clean apartment, saw food in the fridge, saw 3 boys who were clearly loved even if they were struggling, and marked the case as unsubstantiated, with a recommendation for voluntary family support services. Mom celebrated keeping us by getting so high she forgot to pick up Caleb from after-school care. The program called me at work. I had been promoted to cashier by then, making 50 cents more an hour, and I had to leave early, losing 3 hours of pay we desperately needed. Found Caleb sitting alone in the office, the last kid there, the staff looking at me with barely concealed judgment. "Where's your mother?" the director asked. "Sick," I lied automatically. "Food poisoning. She asked me to come." "You're his brother?" "Yes, ma'am." "How old are you?" 18. I lied again. I was 16, but tall for my age, could pass if no one looked too close. She looked like she wanted to say more, but just signed Caleb out to me. As we walked home, him holding my hand and chattering about his day, I realized I was never getting out. College was a dream for kids with functional parents. My reality was 3 boys who needed me more than I needed a degree. The second CPS visit came 6 months later after Mom's first overdose. It was a Saturday morning, and I had taken the boys to the park to play basketball, trying to give them some normal childhood moments. We came home to find ambulances and police cars outside our building. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk gossiping. Mrs. Chun from 3C grabbed my arm as we approached. "Your mother," she whispered. I heard screaming and called 911. They took her away. My heart stopped. Is she alive? But barely. I sent the boys to Mrs. Chen's apartment, telling them I needed to talk to the police. Really, I needed them, not to see the blood on the bathroom floor from where Mom had fallen and hit her head, the vomit on her bedroom carpet, the needles I had not known she was using scattered on her nightstand. The police wanted to take the boys immediately, put them in emergency foster placement, while they figured out what to do. I begged, literally got on my knees and begged the officer in charge, Sergeant Davis, not to separate us. I just turned 18. I lied, though my birthday was still 3 weeks away. I can take care of them. I've been taking care of them. Please. Son, you're still in high school. I graduate in 6 months. I have a job. I pay the bills. Check the bank records. The rent and utilities come from my account, not hers. Check with their schools. I'm listed as the emergency contact. I sign all their papers. I go to all the meetings. I'm already their parent in everything but name. He looked at me, this black cop who had probably seen too many families torn apart, and something in his face softened. CPS will make the final call, he said, but I'll put in my report that you seem capable and the boys are attached to you. Mrs. Patterson came back, remembered us from before, saw how the boys clung to me when they were brought in for questioning. Each of them, even little Caleb, insisted they wanted to stay with me. "Noah takes care of us," Jaden told her, his 12-year-old voice steady and sure. "Mom tries, but Noah is the one who really takes care of us." She approved a temporary kinship placement with conditions, weekly check-ins, mandatory counseling for all of us, and Mom had to complete rehab before she could come home. Mom was in the hospital for 4 days. When I visited, she looked smaller, older, like the drugs had eaten her from the inside. She cried when she saw me, apologizing over and over. "I'm going to get clean," she promised. "For real this time. I'm going to be the mother you all deserve." "Okay, Mom. You don't believe me. I want to believe you, but you don't." "No," I admitted. "I don't." She went to rehab straight from the hospital, a state-funded facility that was more warehouse than treatment center, but it was what Medicaid would cover. She lasted 4 days before checking herself out, claiming they were treating her like a prisoner, that she could get clean on her own. When she came home, she was different, meaner. The pills had made her foggy and absent. Whatever she was using now, meth, I would later learn, made her paranoid and aggressive. She accused me of trying to steal her kids, of turning them against her, of thinking I was better than her. "You're not their father," she would scream. "You're just a kid playing house." "Then be their mother," I would scream back. "Choose them over the drugs, just once." But she could not, or would not. The distinctions stopped mattering. I turned 18 for real 3 weeks after she got out of rehab. There was no celebration, no party, no acknowledgement except Jaden giving me a handmade card that said, "Happy birthday to the best brother/dad ever." I kept that card, still have it, framed on my wall next to my GED certificate. Yes, GED. I dropped out of high school 2 months before graduation. I told everyone I was being homeschooled, but really I just could not manage school and work and raising 3 kids and dealing with Mom's escalating addiction. Something had to give, and it could not be the boys. I got a full-time job at the warehouse, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., $12 an hour plus overtime when I could get it. It was enough to keep us afloat if Mom contributed her food stamps and the occasional paycheck from whatever job she temporarily had. My supervisor, Mr. Chun, no relation to our neighbor, was a good man who had raised 4 kids on his own after his wife died. He understood when I needed to leave early for school emergencies, when I came in exhausted from being up all night with a sick kid, when I had to bring Caleb to work once because Mom disappeared for 3 days. The thing about raising kids, when you are still basically a kid yourself, is that you make every mistake possible. I yelled when I should have been patient. I fed them McDonald's too often because I was too tired to cook and they needed something, anything, in their stomachs. I helped with homework by Googling answers because I had never learned the material myself. I let them stay up too late watching TV because fighting about bedtime was one battle too many. I was inconsistent with rules, too harsh one day and too lenient the next, trying to be both brother and parent and failing at both. But I showed up. Every morning, every night, every crisis, every triumph. When Marcus hit his first home run in Little League, I was there cheering louder than all the real dads combined. When Jaden won the school art contest, I framed his painting and hung it in our living room like it belonged in a museum. When Caleb finally learned to read after struggling with dyslexia that Mom never bothered to get diagnosed, I cried actual tears of pride. The boys adapted in their own ways to our broken family. Jaden, the oldest, became my co-parent, helping with homework and bedtime routines, making sandwiches when I was running late, keeping the younger 2 quiet when Mom was on a bender. He was 12 years old and already carrying adult responsibilities, and I hated myself for needing his help but could not survive without it. Marcus threw himself into baseball with an intensity that concerned his coaches. Every practice, every game, was a chance to be somewhere other than our chaotic apartment. He was naturally talented, but more than that, he was desperate to excel at something, to have something that was his and untouchable by Mom's addiction. When he made the All-Star team, he slept with his trophy for a month. Caleb, my baby brother, developed anxiety that manifested in different ways. Bedwetting until he was 8, separation anxiety, so severe he would panic if I was 5 minutes late picking him up, a stutter that emerged when Mom was at her worst and faded when she was in rehab. He carried that stuffed dinosaur everywhere, a comfort object that represented stability in a world where nothing else was stable. The third CPS involvement came after what I now call the knife incident. Mom had been clean for maybe 2 weeks, white-knuckling it without proper treatment. Just her own willpower that had failed so many times before. The withdrawal was making her crazy, sweats, shakes, hallucinations. She became convinced that I was hiding her pills, that I was the reason she was suffering. I came home from work at 11:30 p.m. to find her tearing apart the apartment, the boys huddled in their bedroom with the door locked. I had installed the lock after she had gone into one of her rages before. She had a kitchen knife in her hand, not threatening anyone with it, just holding it while she destroyed everything looking for pills that did not exist. "Where are they?" she screamed when she saw me. "I know you have them." "Mom, put the knife down. Give me my medicine." "There is no medicine. You're in withdrawal. You need to go back to rehab." She lunged at me then, not to stab me, I don't think, but to grab me, shake me, make me tell her where the non-existent pills were. But she was holding a knife, and I was tired, and the boys were watching through a crack in their door, and I was done pretending this was manageable. I grabbed her wrist, twisted until she dropped the knife, then held her while she fought me, screamed at me, called me every name imaginable. I held her until she exhausted herself, collapsed into sobs, begging me to help her, to make the pain stop, to just let her die. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I'm not strong enough." "I know, Mom. I know." I called 911 again, told them my mother was having a mental health crisis related to drug withdrawal. They took her for a 72-hour psychiatric hold. CPS came the next day, saw the destroyed apartment, interviewed the boys, who were too traumatized to lie effectively this time. Mrs. Patterson sat me down at our kitchen table, the same one where I had served 1,000 meals and helped with 1,000 homework assignments, and gave me the truth. "Noah, this isn't sustainable. Your mother needs long-term treatment, not these short stints. The boys need stability. You need to think about what's best for everyone, including yourself. The boys staying with me is what's best. But is your mother being in and out of this home what's best? The constant chaos, the trauma of seeing her like this. What's my alternative? Let them go into foster care? Split them up? Put them with strangers who don't love them? There are good foster families. Would they keep all 3 boys together?" She was quiet, which was answer enough. "Then we keep going," I said. "Mom goes to treatment. A real program this time, not the state minimum. I'll figure out how to pay for it. And when she gets out, she doesn't come back here until she's really clean. 6 months minimum. Drug tests. Therapy. The whole thing. And if she refuses, then I file for custody." It was the first time I had said it out loud, but I had been thinking it for months. The nuclear option. Taking my mother's children from her legally, permanently. It felt like betrayal and salvation in equal measure. Mom agreed to treatment to avoid losing us completely. Insurance covered 30 days at a decent facility 2 hours away. I drove the boys to see her every Sunday, watching them try to reconcile the sober, apologetic woman in group therapy with a monster who had torn apart our apartment with a knife. She looked good when she got out. Healthy weight, clear eyes, 90 meetings in 90 days promised. She got a job at Subway, moved in with another woman from rehab, started rebuilding. The boys visited her every other weekend, supervised at first, then on their own. For 4 months, I actually believed we might make it through. Then her roommate relapsed, and Mom found her dead from an overdose. The trauma triggered her own relapse, or at least that is what she said. Maybe it was true. Maybe it was an excuse. Maybe it does not matter, because the result was the same. She was using again. This time it was meth primarily, with heroin to come down. A combination that was eating her alive, leaving her skeleton thin with sores on her face she'd picked at obsessively. She lost the subway job, lost the apartment, started couch surfing with other addicts, then living on the streets when they got tired of her stealing from them. I would get calls at 2 a.m. from random numbers. Mom at a gas station needing money. Mom at the hospital, overdosed again. Mom arrested for shoplifting, needing bail. I stopped answering unknown numbers. If it was really an emergency, they would leave a voicemail. The boys stopped asking about her, stopped hoping for visits that would not happen. Caleb took down her picture from his nightstand. Marcus quit mentioning her at his games when they announced players' families. Jaden painted over a portrait he had done of her, turning it into something abstract and dark. Subscribe to this channel if you believe that family is about who shows up, not just who shares your DNA. Too many children are trapped with biological parents who cannot or will not care for them, while family members who would protect them are pushed aside by a system that prioritizes blood over love. During this period, I was drowning but trying not to let it show. 20 years old, working 50 hours a week, raising 3 boys, dealing with a mother who was slowly killing herself in front of us. I developed insomnia that I still have today, unable to fully sleep because some part of me was always listening for crisis. A knock at the door, a phone call, one of the boys having a nightmare. My friend Diego was my lifeline during this time. We had known each other since middle school, and while his life had progressed normally, community college, girlfriend, normal 20-year-old stuff, he never made me feel weird about mine. He would come over after the boys were asleep, and we would sit on the fire escape sharing a beer and pretending we were just normal young adults with normal problems. "You know you're a hero, right?" he said one night after I had vented about Marcus needing new baseball gear I could not afford. "I'm not a hero. I'm just doing what needs to be done. Most people wouldn't. Most people don't have 3 brothers depending on them. Most people would have let the system take them, would have chosen their own life. This is my life," I said and meant it. "Those boys are my life." Diego's mom, Mrs. Santos, became our surrogate grandmother. She watched the boys when I had to work late, fed them traditional Mexican meals that became their favorites, scolded them in rapid Spanish when they acted up. She never asked for money, though I tried to pay her. Instead, she would send us home with leftovers, hand-me-down clothes from her older grandchildren, little gifts for the boys that she claimed were nothing but I knew she could barely afford. "Your family," she would say when I protested. Family helps family. Mr. Chun at work was equally supportive. When Marcus made the traveling baseball team, a huge deal that would help with high school and maybe college scholarships, but the fees were $500 I did not have. Mr. Chun suddenly needed extra inventory help. That paid exactly $500. When I tried to thank him, he just grunted and said hard workers deserved opportunities. The community that formed around us was small but mighty. Jaden's art teacher, Ms. Kim, started staying after school to give him free lessons, recognizing a talent that needed nurturing. Marcus's coach, Tony, would pick him up for practice when I could not get off work, never mentioning the gas money it cost him. Caleb's teacher, Mrs. Washington, got him tested for dyslexia for free through a university program, then tutored him herself during lunch breaks. These people saved us as much as I did. They showed my brothers that the world was not all chaos and abandonment, that there were adults who could be trusted, who showed up not because they had to, but because they chose to. The night I described at the beginning, October 15th, the needle night, was when everything finally broke, completely. After the ambulance took Mom, and I got the boys settled at Mrs. Santos's house for the night, I went back to our apartment alone. I sat in the bathroom where I had found her, looked at the blood on the floor from where she had scratched herself raw, and made the decision I had been avoiding. I was going to file for permanent custody, not temporary, not kinship placement, but full legal guardianship with her parental rights terminated if necessary. It was the nuclear option, the betrayal she would never forgive, the admission that she was never going to choose us over drugs. I called legal aid the next morning and got connected with Jennifer Martinez, a lawyer who specialized in family law and had a soft spot for sibling guardianship cases. Her own older brother had raised her after their parents died, so she understood the dynamics. "You're very young," she said at our first meeting, looking over my documentation, pay stubs, school records, medical records, showing I had been taking them to appointments for 2 years. "I'm old enough. The court will be concerned about your ability to provide long-term stability. I've been providing it for 3 years already. Your income is barely above poverty level for a family of 4. We're not in poverty. We have food, shelter, clothes, love. That's more than they had with her." She studied me for a long moment. "This will get ugly. Your mother will fight it. She'll make accusations, try to make you look unfit. She'll play the sympathy card. Struggling single mother, disease of addiction, systems stacked against her. Are you prepared for that? I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to keep my brothers safe. Even if it means she hates you forever, she can hate me from a distance. As long as the boys are safe, she can hate me all she wants." Jennifer took the case pro bono, which was good because I could not have afforded even a cheap lawyer. We spent the next month building our case. She had me document everything obsessively, every meal I cooked, every homework session I supervised, every bedtime story I read to Caleb. She had me get letters from everyone who had witnessed me raising the boys, teachers, neighbors, coaches, doctors, even the corner store owner who saw me buying groceries with 3 kids in tow every week. The letters were heartbreaking and heartwarming in equal measure. Mrs. Rodriguez, Marcus's teacher, wrote about how I had never missed a parent-teacher conference, how I always responded to emails about his progress, how Marcus lit up when talking about me. Coach Tony wrote about watching me work extra shifts to pay for equipment and tournament fees, about how I was at every game despite exhaustion, about how Marcus was thriving because of my stability. The most powerful letter came from Jaden himself, who insisted on writing one even though he was only 13. He wrote about how I taught him to tie his shoes when Mom was too high to notice he did not know how, about how I stayed up all night when he had pneumonia, checking his temperature every hour, about how I sold my Xbox, my only real possession, to buy him art supplies for his birthday, about how I was not just his brother, but his hero, his role model, the man he wanted to become. Mom got out of the hospital after 5 days and disappeared. No rehab this time, straight to the streets. We would get reports of sightings. She was at this shelter, that trap house, this emergency room. But she never contacted us directly. Part of me was relieved. The boys did not need to see her like that. She resurfaced 3 weeks later when she was arrested for possession with intent to distribute. Not a lot, just enough to upgrade the charges from misdemeanor to felony. She called me from jail, collect, which I accepted against my better judgment. "I need bail money." "I don't have bail money. You have that job. You can get a loan or something." "I'm not bailing you out so you can disappear again. I'm your mother." "Then act like it. Go to rehab. Get clean. Show up for your children. You turned them against me. You turned yourself against them every time you chose drugs over their needs. I have a disease, and you refuse to treat it. That's a choice. She hung up on me. It was the last time we spoke. Before court. The court date was set for December 10th. Mom made bail somehow. Probably a dealer who wanted her back on the streets earning, and got a public defender who looked overwhelmed before the case even started. She also got clean or cleaner. Not sober, but functional enough to appear in court without being obviously high. She came to the apartment 2 weeks before court, demanding to see the boys. I refused to let her in. They're my children. Then fight for them in court. Prove you can be their mother. I am their mother. Biology doesn't make you a mother. Showing up does. Being sober does. Choosing them over drugs does. You don't understand. You've never been addicted to anything. I'm addicted to keeping these boys safe. And unlike you, I'll never quit that addiction. She left, but not before telling Jaden through the door that she loved him, that this was not her fault, that Noah was keeping them apart. Jaden, wise beyond his 13 years, responded, "Noah's not keeping us apart. Heroin is." The morning of December 10th came gray and cold. I dressed the boys in their best clothes. Thrift store finds that Mrs. Santos had helped me alter to fit properly. We looked respectable, clean, loved. A family in everything but traditional structure. I had prepared them for possible outcomes. Best case, I got permanent guardianship. Worst case, foster care, possibly separated. Most likely, continued temporary arrangement with more conditions and supervision. Whatever happens, I told them at breakfast, we're brothers. That doesn't change. Why does she even want us? Marcus asked bitterly. She never wanted us before. She loves you. She's just sick. If she loved us, she'd get better, Jaden said. It's not that simple. It is for you, Caleb said quietly. You love us, and you got better at taking care of us. You figured it out of the mouths of babes. The courthouse was intimidating, all marble and authority. Mom was there with her lawyer, wearing a dress I had never seen before, her hair dyed and styled, makeup covering the worst of the meth sores. From a distance, she looked like a recovering soccer mom. Up close, you could see the damage, the hollow cheeks, the nervous picking at her nails, the way her eyes never quite focused. "Hi, boys," she said softly when she saw them. Caleb hid behind me. Marcus looked away. Only Jaden met her eyes. "Hi, Mom. You look better." "I'm trying. I'm really trying this time." The bailiff called our case before she could say more. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, more like a conference room than the grand halls of justice you see on TV. Judge Thompson was an older black man with kind eyes but a stern expression. He had our file in front of him, inches thick with CPS reports, police records, medical documentation. "This is a petition for permanent guardianship of 3 minor children by their adult sibling," he began. "Mrs. Williams, you contest this petition?" "Yes, Your Honor. These are my children. I'm their mother." "Mr. Williams, you're seeking to remove your mother's custody rights?" "I'm seeking to formalize what's already been reality for 3 years. Your Honor, I've been their primary caregiver, while my mother has been unable to parent due to addiction." "Mrs. Williams, are you currently in treatment?" "I'm attending NA meetings, Your Honor." "How many days clean?" 43 days, Your Honor. 43 days out of the last 5 years. Jennifer presented our case methodically. Financial records showing I had paid all household expenses for 2 years. School records showing my involvement versus Mom's absence. Medical records showing I had taken them to every appointment, made every decision, signed every form. The letters from teachers and coaches and neighbors, painting a picture of a young man who had sacrificed everything to raise 3 boys, while their mother chose addiction. Mom's lawyer tried to argue that addiction was a disease, that she deserved another chance, that keeping children with their biological mother was always preferable. He painted me as too young, too poor, too inexperienced to raise 3 children. He suggested foster care might be better for everyone. That's when Judge Thompson spoke up. "I'd like to hear from the children." My heart stopped. We had not prepared for them to testify. "Not formal testimony," the judge clarified. "Just a conversation. Jaden, you're the oldest. Where would you like to live?" Jaden stood up, all 13 years of him, trying to look adult. "With Noah, Your Honor. He's been raising us for 3 years. Mom. I love Mom, but she loves drugs more than us. She's had so many chances. We can't keep waiting for her to choose us." Marcus. Marcus stayed seated, but spoke clearly. "Noah taught me to ride a bike. He helps with homework. He works 2 jobs to pay for my baseball. He never misses a game unless he's working. That's what a dad does, right? So he's our dad, even if he's really our brother." "Caleb, you're the youngest. This must be confusing." Caleb looked at me, then at Mom, then at the judge. "My mommy is sick. Noah says it's not her fault, but she won't take her medicine to get better. The medicine that makes her better, not the bad medicine that makes her sick. Noah takes care of us. He reads me stories and makes my lunch and checks for monsters under the bed. I want to stay with Noah." The courtroom was silent. Mom was crying silently, her lawyer looking defeated. Then she did something I never expected. She stood up. "Your Honor, may I address the court?" "Mrs. Williams, your lawyer should." "Please, I need to say this myself." The judge nodded. Mom turned to look at us, mascara running down her cheeks. "I love you boys more than life itself. But Jaden's right. I love drugs more. I hate myself for it. But it's true. Every time I promise to get clean, I mean it. And every time I relapse, a piece of me dies. Noah saved you when I couldn't. He's been your father when I couldn't be your mother. And if I really love you, if I want what's best for you, then I need to stop hurting you with my false promises." She turned to the judge. "I withdraw my contest. Your Honor, give them to Noah. He's already their parent in every way that matters." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the court reporter stopped typing. Mom's lawyer looked stunned. Jennifer gripped my hand under the table. The boys were frozen, not sure what had just happened. Judge Thompson cleared his throat. "Mrs. Williams, you understand what you're saying? You're voluntarily surrendering custody." "I'm not surrendering anything, Your Honor. I lost custody years ago when I chose pills over making dinner. I'm just accepting reality and asking that you don't punish my boys for my failures by putting them in foster care. They belong with Noah. Mr. Williams, are you prepared for the full legal responsibility of raising 3 minor children?" I stood up, my legs shaking, but my voice steady. "Your Honor, I've been raising them since I was 16. I've made mistakes, lots of them, but I've never chosen anything over their well-being. I'll keep making mistakes, but I'll keep showing up. That's all I can promise, that I'll always show up." The judge looked at all of us, this broken family held together by a 19-year-old stubborn love. "The court finds that it is in the best interest of the minor children to be placed in the permanent legal guardianship of Noah Williams. Mrs. Williams retains parental rights, but no custody. Supervised visitation may be arranged if and when she maintains sobriety for a minimum of 6 months with regular testing. Mr. Williams, the court orders you to complete parenting classes within 6 months and maintain stable housing and income. CPS will conduct quarterly check-ins for the first year." He banged his gavel. And just like that, I was officially what I had been unofficially for years, a father to 3 boys. Mom approached us after court. The boys tensed, but I nodded that it was okay. "I'm going away," she said. "Real rehab this time. Long term. 6 months minimum. Maybe a year. I don't know if I'll ever be the mother you deserve, but maybe I can at least become someone who doesn't hurt you anymore. Mom, Jaden said, and hugged her. Marcus joined, then Caleb. I stood back, letting them have this moment. She looked at me over their heads. Thank you, she mouthed silently. I nodded. There was nothing else to say. That was 2 years ago. Mom did go to rehab, a good program in Arizona that combined treatment with job training. She stayed 8 months, longer than ever before. She's been clean since then, living in a halfway house, working as a peer counselor for other addicts. We video call once a month, supervised by her counselor. The boys are starting to build a relationship with this new version of her. Not their mother exactly, but someone who loves them and is trying to earn a place in their lives. I'm 21 now. Jaden is 15 and getting ready to apply to art schools. His portfolio, full of pieces about family and resilience that make people cry. Marcus is 13, varsity baseball as a 7th grader, being scouted already for high school teams. Caleb is 9, reading at grade level after years of tutoring, confident, and happy in ways that seemed impossible 2 years ago. We still live in the same apartment, though it feels different now. Stable, safe, ours. The walls are covered in Jaden's art, Marcus's trophies, Caleb's perfect spelling tests. The fridge is always full, not gourmet but consistent. The bills are paid on time. The boys have clothes that fit, shoes without holes, birthday parties with friends. I work as a shift supervisor at the warehouse now, making $18 an hour plus benefits. Mr. Chun is training me for management, says I have natural leadership skills. I laugh because my leadership experience is making 3 boys brush their teeth and do homework. But maybe that is leadership, getting people to do what needs doing even when they don't want to. I'm taking online classes at community college, just 2 per semester, all I can manage. Business administration because it's practical, but I'm thinking about social work for my bachelor's. Jennifer Martinez, our lawyer, says I should consider law school eventually. Says I have the fighter's spirit needed for family law. Maybe. Right now, I'm just focused on getting through each day, each week, each milestone. Dating is still mostly impossible. I went on a few dates with a girl from my online class, but when she found out about the boys, she said it was too much baggage for someone our age. She was not wrong. It is too much baggage. But it's my baggage, and I'll carry it as far as necessary. There's a woman at the community center where Caleb does tutoring, Sophie, who volunteers teaching ESL classes. She's 23, knows our situation, brings cookies for the boys when she knows I'm picking up Caleb. We talk while Caleb finishes his sessions about everything and nothing. She has never said it's too much. Maybe something will happen there. Maybe not. The boys come first, always. People sometimes ask if I regret giving up my youth. The question always confuses me. What youth? The one where I could have gone to college at 18, where I could have gotten drunk at parties and made stupid decisions, where I could have been selfish and free and normal. That youth was never an option once Mom chose pills over us. My choice was not between freedom and responsibility. It was between keeping my family together or letting the system scatter us, between becoming their guardian or remaining their helpless brother watching them suffer, between growing up too fast or letting them grow up without safety. I chose them. Every time, I chose them. And I would choose them again. The hardest part is not the sacrifice. It's the weight of being everything to them. Parent, brother, provider, protector. It's knowing that if I fail, they have no safety net. It's lying awake at night, worried about Marcus's grades, or Jaden's anxiety, or Caleb's lingering fear that I'll disappear like Mom did. It's being 21 and having my biggest fear not be failure or heartbreak, but letting them down. But the beautiful part is watching them thrive, Marcus hitting a grand slam and looking for me in the stands. Jaden winning an art competition and saying he owes it all to me for believing in him. Caleb reading a whole book by himself and being so proud he carries it everywhere for a week. These moments make everything worth it. Last month, we went to Mom's graduation from her counselor certification program. She had been clean 18 months, the longest since everything started. She looked healthy, really healthy, not just sober, but actually well. The boys sat in the front row, clapping when she got her certificate. I stayed in the back, not sure how to feel. After the ceremony, she pulled me aside. I know I can never make up for what I put you through, for what I put them through, but I want you to know that what you did, stepping up, fighting for them, loving them when I couldn't, that saved their lives. And mine, eventually, because knowing they were safe with you let me focus on getting better without the guilt eating me alive. I didn't do it for you. I know. That's what makes it even more meaningful. We're not reconciled, Mom and I. Maybe we never will be. The anger is still there, buried under functionality, but ready to surface when I'm exhausted and overwhelmed and remember that none of this should have been my responsibility. But there's also understanding. Addiction is a disease, even if the choices made in that disease hurt everyone around you. She's trying to make amends in the only way she can, by staying clean, by not making promises she cannot keep, by being a small, stable presence instead of a chaotic, central one. The boys are healing too, each in their own way. Jaden through his art, processing trauma in colors and shapes. Marcus through baseball, channeling anger into perfect swings. Caleb through words, reading and writing stories where kids always have safe homes and parents who choose them. And me, I'm healing through them, through being the adult they needed, through proving that love is action, not just feeling, through breaking the cycle that might have consumed us all. I think about the statistics a lot. Children of addicts are more likely to become addicts themselves. Children who experience trauma are more likely to perpetuate trauma. Siblings separated by foster care rarely maintain relationships. By every metric, we should have failed. But we didn't. We won't. Because every night at dinner, still at the same thrift store table, we choose each other. Every morning when I wake them up for school, I choose responsibility over resentment. Every time Mom calls, and they decide whether to talk to her, they choose forgiveness or boundaries based on their own healing, not anyone else's timeline. That's the secret, I think. Choice. Mom's addiction took away her ability to choose us, but it gave me the opportunity to choose them. And that choice, made daily, sometimes hourly, has built something unbreakable. We're not a traditional family. We're not even a particularly functional family by most standards. But we're a real family, forged in crisis, strengthened by sacrifice, held together by a love that refuses to quit even when quitting would be easier. Caleb asked me last week what happens when they're all grown up. Will you finally get to have your own life? He asked. You guys are my life. I told him. When you're grown, I'll just get to enjoy watching who you become without worrying about homework and baseball fees. But what about your dreams? My dream was keeping us together. Everything else is bonus. That's sad, he said. No, I corrected. It's love. Subscribe to this channel if you understand that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they're 19-year-old boys working double shifts to buy school supplies. Sometimes they're mothers who love their children enough to let them go when they cannot care for them. Sometimes they're communities that rally around broken families to help them heal. Hit that notification bell to hear more stories of young people who became the adults their families needed. Mr. Chen retired last month, and I got promoted to warehouse manager. It comes with a salary instead of hourly wages, benefits, even a small 401k match. It's not a fortune, but it's stability. It's enough to start a college fund for Caleb, to pay for Marcus's travel team, to get Jaden real art supplies instead of dollar store versions. More importantly, it comes with regular hours, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I can be home for dinner every night. I can help with homework without falling asleep at the table. I can be present in ways I never could when I was working nights and weekends just to survive. The boys are thriving in ways that seemed impossible during the worst of Mom's addiction. Jaden got accepted to a summer art intensive for high school students, full scholarship. Marcus made varsity as an 8th grader, the youngest player in school history. Caleb tested out of special education, reading and writing at grade level for the first time. These victories belong to them, to their resilience and determination, but I was there for each one, each practice, each therapy session, each small step forward. That's what parents do. They show up for the small moments that build into big victories. Mom has been clean 2 years now. She works full-time as an addiction counselor, lives in a small apartment with another woman in recovery, attends NA meetings religiously. She sends child support now. Not much, $200 a month, but she insists, and I accept it for the boys' college funds. It's her way of contributing, of taking responsibility, of being part of their lives in the only way she safely can right now. The supervised visits have evolved into supervised dinners once a month. We meet at a restaurant, public and neutral, and have a meal together. She asks about school and sports and art. They tell her surface things, safe things. Sometimes Caleb slips and calls her mom with real affection instead of careful distance. Those moments make her cry, which makes everyone uncomfortable, but they're also healing in their way. She never asks to come home. She knows home is not a place she can return to. That damage is permanent. That trust is broken beyond repair. But she's building something new with the boys. Not mother exactly, but someone who loves them and is proving it through consistent sobriety and respecting boundaries. I still don't trust her. May never fully trust her, but I'm grateful she's alive and clean. So many addicts don't get that chance. So many families lose their person completely. We lost our mother, but kept the person who gave birth to us, and there's something valuable in that distinction. Diego is getting married next year. Asked me to be his best man. I said yes, even though I'll have to figure out childcare and clothes and all the logistics that come with being in a wedding when you're raising 3 kids. His fiancée, Maria, loves the boys, includes them in everything. They'll be junior groomsmen, which has Caleb so excited he talks about it daily. Mrs. Santos is teaching Jaden to paint in oils, a skill she learned from her grandmother in Mexico. She says he has real talent, could make a career of it. She's helping him apply to art schools, navigating the complex world of portfolios and recommendations that I don't understand, but am learning about through YouTube videos and library books. Coach Tony has become Marcus's unofficial mentor, teaching him not just baseball but life skills. How to stay humble in victory and gracious in defeat. How to be a team player while still excelling individually. How to channel anger into focus instead of destruction. He's the male role model Marcus needs, filling gaps I cannot fill no matter how hard I try. Mrs. Washington still tutors Caleb, even though he's at grade level now. She says he has potential for advanced placement, could be in gifted programs with the right support. She's teaching him to love learning, to see his dyslexia as a different way of thinking rather than a disability. She's giving him confidence I could never instill alone. This village we've built, or that built itself around us, is what actually saved us. I may have kept us together, but these people kept us thriving. They saw a young man drowning in responsibility and threw lifelines. They saw 3 boys who needed more than one overwhelmed guardian, could provide, and filled those gaps with love and expertise and time. People ask what I want for my future. Now that the boys are older, and more independent. The truth is, I don't know how to want things for myself anymore. For 7 years, every decision has been about them. Every dollar saved or spent, every job taken or left, every opportunity pursued or abandoned, all filtered through the lens of what's best for the boys. But I'm learning. Sophie and I are officially dating now, taking it slow but steady. She understands that the boys come first, that dates might be interrupted by crisis, that our relationship will always include 3 extra people. She's okay with that. More than okay. She loves them too, in her own careful way. I'm taking 3 classes next semester instead of 2. The boys are old enough to do homework independently, to make basic dinners if I'm studying. Jaden can watch Caleb for a few hours. Marcus can get himself to and from practice. These small freedoms feel enormous after years of constant supervision. My dream, if I let myself dream, is to finish my degree and become a social worker specializing in kinship care, to help other young adults navigate raising siblings or cousins or nibblings when parents cannot, to change policies that make it harder than necessary for families to stay together, to be for others what Mrs. Patterson and Jennifer Martinez were for us, advocates and guides through an impossible situation. But even if I never finish college, never become anything more than a warehouse manager who raised his brothers, that's enough. That's everything. Because 3 boys who statistically should have ended up addicted, imprisoned, or dead are instead heading toward colleges and careers and healthy relationships. 3 boys who should have been scattered through foster care are instead brothers who text each other constantly and plan their futures together. We did that, together, against all odds and expectations and statistics. The other night, we were all in the living room. Jaden painting, Marcus watching game footage on his phone, Caleb reading out loud to practice, me paying bills on my laptop. Normal family stuff. Boring and beautiful. Mom texted asking for a photo, and I took one. My boys in their natural habitat, safe and loved and home. She texted back, "You gave them everything I couldn't. Thank you." I didn't respond. There's nothing to say. You don't thank someone for doing what had to be done. You don't get credit for choosing family when family is all you have. But late that night, after the boys were asleep, I stood in their doorway watching them breathe. Jaden, almost a man himself now, still sleeps curled up like he's protecting himself. Marcus, tough on the field, but still afraid of thunderstorms, had his nightlight on. Caleb, my baby who's not a baby anymore, had fallen asleep reading, book still open on his chest. These are my boys, my brothers, my sons in everything but biology, my greatest challenge and my greatest achievement, my sacrifice and my salvation. I was 19 when I became their guardian, too young by any reasonable measure. But love doesn't wait for you to be ready. Sometimes it shows up at 3 in the morning in the form of a 7-year-old saying Mama's sleeping again, and forces you to become who they need you to be. I became who they needed. We all did, even Mom, eventually by letting us go. And in becoming who they needed, I found who I was meant to be, not the college student or the young adult with freedom and options I might have been, but the guardian, the protector, the constant presence that 3 boys needed to survive and thrive. That's enough. That's everything. That's family. Thank you for listening to my story of growing up faster than I ever wanted to. I've left 2 more stories on your screen, both from young men who learned that sometimes becoming an adult doesn't happen at 18. It happens the moment your family needs you to be strong. Click on whichever one speaks to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it's like to be forced to grow up overnight, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, age is just a number, but courage defines who you really are.